Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Let Me Show You Something. I'm Olivia.
And I'm John.
Each week we'll either be watching a movie picked by me or playing a video game picked by John while recording our thoughts and opinions along the way. This week for our very first episode we'll be watching A Quiet Place. Quiet Place is a 2018 American science fiction horror film co-written, directed by and starring John Krasinski. If you're not aware of the film, it's about a family who are trying to survive through a kind of apocalyptic world where these monsters who are very sensitive to sound hunt down human beings, and the wife, who's played by Emily Blunt, is pregnant, so that provides a little bit of a problem for them.
I mean, I haven't seen this film.
We should add, so the films that I'm showing John, he hasn't seen.
Yeah, obviously.
And the games he's showing me, I've not played.
I think it would be a very boring podcast if we just watched films we've already seen before and played games we've already played before. So I somehow missed the film. I think I just didn't have anyone to go see it at the cinema, and I was told it was one of those films you really need to see in the cinema.
But you also have an aversion to horror films.
I do.
But I would say I would say it was marketed as a horror film, but it's definitely not.
I don't think I was put off because I thought it was a horror film. It always seemed more of a bit like a thriller. And it's got Jim from The Office, who it will always be Jim from The Office.
But why did you not see it when it was in the cinema? It just passed you by.
I think it just passed me by, and I always kind of wished that I'd seen it in the cinema. And then when it came out on DVD, I was just like, well, I'll catch it when it's free on Netflix or something. But now it is available.
It's here, and we've got all this time.
We've got all this free time. So I'm looking forward.
But for those of you who haven't seen the film, here's a short clip.
Terrifying a massive invasion around the world. Total devastation.
Who are we if we can't protect them? We have to protect them. So we're going to watch the first 45 minutes of the movie and take a pause and update you on any thoughts or opinions we have halfway through, and then go ahead and watch the movie, and we'll do a bit of a roundup after that. So we will catch you shortly. So we're 45 minutes into A Quiet Place. What do you think so far?
I'm enjoying it. I've got
quite a few
so
issues.
many questions. Not issues, just many questions.
So should we do a little rundown of the plot so far?
What's happened so far? So, they've had...
There's a family,
yeah. Noticed that. At the beginning they had 3 kids, which I thought was weird because over all the promos I remember only seeing 2 kids.
Just going to stop you there. This whole podcast will contain spoilers.
I mean, I really hope that you've known that. would know that.
No, because some people are weird about it, but this film's been out for 2 years, so you've had plenty of opportunity to see it. If you don't want spoilers,
like
then bugger off.
Yeah, quite simply.
So, Mum and Dad...
So Mum and Dad, at the beginning they had 3 children. One of them was picked off very quickly for just being an idiot.
Well, let's not be so harsh here. They're in like a supermarket at the beginning. The family.
He finds a toy that he likes, and he goes. He wants to play with it, but it's got batteries that makes a lot of noise, and so the dad's like, no, this makes too much noise. Takes the batteries out and puts them on one side, and says you can't have it. And his sister, being really nice, is like, you can have it, but without the batteries. And then the kid picks up the batteries.
Yeah. It is his own fault, to be
And then
fair.
he's playing with the toy, while both of his parents are, like, running at him like, what the no, no. And he's just sitting there, you know, playing with it, waving it in the air. And
It's like a little spaceship that beat boots.
Yeah, it makes some noise and,
Yeah.
and then gets taken out. So yeah,
And a significant plot point is that the older sister, who we should mention is deaf, feels a lot of guilt for giving him the toy and therefore resulting in his death. But interesting little fact is that the actress, she's called Millicent Simmons, I think, and she's actually deaf. So the whole cast learned a bit of sign language because they have to communicate in sign language. The majority of the film so far is them communicating through sign language. There's a little bit
just whispers.
There's a little bit of whispering, but you wouldn't be able to know what they were saying without the...
I think John Krasinski's said like maybe 10 words.
Yeah.
Somewhere about that.
But it was interesting. I was reading on Wikipedia about how the actress taught her fellow actors how to use sign language, and she said that in the movie we've been signing together for years and years, so it should look fluent. And she talked about how the different characters have kind of different styles of using sign language. So she said the father had short and brief signs, which showed his survival mentality, while the mother had more expressive signs as part of wanting her children to experience more than the survival. And reading that after watching it, I can reflect and notice that through their performances.
Interesting.
The mum's more mellow and kind of calm and fluid with the way that she communicates with the children, whereas the dad's more, we need to get to the point.
Yeah. So it seems like the dad is he's taken up the reins as the kind of survivalist head of the group, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with
these creatures. We've only seen a brief kind of... We've heard some noises, kind of screechy...
And you see a brief flash of a thing as it swipes the kid at the beginning, and then...
That's it, we've not seen
No,
them.
we've seen... we just saw...
Oh, we just saw...
We haven't we were in the middle of explaining the plot. So they've set up a nice house where they've got... They kind of...
They've got their supplies.
They've got their supplies.
They've got their ways of keeping things quiet.
John Krasinski's trying to figure out what's going on with the monsters, and also trying to fix his daughter's hearing aid or build her a new one.
They've got kind of a damaged relationship because she feels as though he blames her for the death of his younger son.
No, it was obviously the younger son's fault.
Yeah, but she's going to think that, isn't she? She gave him the toy at the end of the day. And I think the dad's been a bit... He obviously loves her, but...
Well, he's obviously
very stressed, and she's perhaps taken that as the fact he blames her for what happens. But he's been trying very hard to fix her hearing aid, but she's been kind of dismissive of it.
And I think she's fed up of the hoping that it'll work. So he seems to be coddling her a little bit because she's deaf, and obviously if you can't hear the sounds you're making, it's probably quite difficult.
How do you think the film would be if they didn't have this character who's deaf?
How would them as a family have survived?
Yeah, it focuses in on how
they communicate through sign language.
Yeah.
And I guess learning sign language from people I know who have it's easier than learning like a whole new language, because you're not necessarily having to learn like a whole new grammar or new words or anything.
Performances, thoughts.
I think it's really
because
it's very difficult to tell, right?
Yeah, because there's no dialogue.
There's no dialogue.
So we're relying very much on their facial expressions. I'm very impressed with
Emily Blunt and John Krasinski. I think are doing a really good job. I think the kids, it's a little bit. I mean, I have no complaints about the acting.
It's just we haven't been able to. There's a lot of action in the second act. It's quite a short film. It's only 90 minutes. We've just kind of got into the action now, so there'll probably be a bit more to say once we've watched the second half of the film. Do you have any predictions for how things are going to play out?
I mean, I've seen the trailers for the second film, so I'm 99% certain John Krasinski is going to die.
Okay. We should mention the second film was meant to come out in March, but obviously with the state of things at the moment it's been delayed, but it's been given a new release date for September of this year, so we'll see if it comes out then. But you were kind of saying, do we get any background on
the monsters
or anything? And you don't really, so we can go into
That's
this
fair
more
enough.
when we finish the film, but it would be interesting to see if the second movie does go into that a bit more.
Yeah.
But yes, we will carry on and watch the end of the movie, and we'll be back to give our thoughts then. So we're back after having just finished A Quiet Place on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Was it a cliffhanger? I think it was just the cheesiest fucking ending, right? So
yeah, but no. Let me just wait.
You talk,
Yeah.
and then I'll explain what's happened as a first time watcher.
Okay, so the first time I saw this was in the cinema when it came out 2 years ago, and at the end, me and some of my friends that I went to see it with did burst out laughing at the like gun where she loads the gun at the end. But it's not meant to be. Well, it is serious, but like it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. So to sum up the last half of the movie,
yeah,
the mum goes into labour.
But
What?
You're missing a very excruciating moment.
Oh yeah, she steps on a nail and it's fucking not disgraceful, disgusting.
Watch it.
It was horrible.
It's disgraceful as well.
Well, the fact that she doesn't immediately put it down so no one else steps on it. They keep walking up and down those stairs like there's nothing wrong with them, and I'm like, no, those stairs are a hazard. Sort it out.
But every time,
but she goes into labour before that. The daughter and the mum and the son, the dad and the son have gone out to get supplies. The daughter's just fucked off and left her pregnant mum by herself. Then she goes into labour. They come back. The kids, the son runs off to set off some fireworks to bring the monsters away from the house while the mum gives birth. And the daughter's also out and about. The mum
She's gone to visit the grave of her younger brother.
Yeah. So the mum gives birth, and
while the monster is lurking around.
The dad finds her, gets her and the baby into a, we think, safe place, but apparently that doesn't exist in this film. The dad goes off to find the kids. Meanwhile, the mum, somehow in this hidden secret basement, where the baby is in a box with oxygen being put into the box so you can't hear the baby while it's crying. Somehow that lid comes off with no explanation. And also for no reason other than plot. It's not even raining, but they just suddenly, the basement starts flooding.
No, I think it's flooding. They don't really explain this, but the way I took it was I think it's flooding because the monster, one of these monsters was in the house and it was thrashing about, and I think it might have
maybe
thrashed a pipe, and that's why it's flooding.
Okay,
I don't think
it would have been better to have seen that happen.
It doesn't really matter.
That's true. That very much could have been how this happened. But basement starts flooding with water, and then somehow a monster gets into the basement.
And not somehow. That's also easily explained because the only thing that was.
But why would it come into it? Because it couldn't hear anything. There wasn't any. Well, I guess it heard the water.
And it could have come in because the only thing that was separating the outside world from the basement was this mattress covering the entrance.
But surely the mum would have heard it come in.
She has just given birth.
I feel like you don't clock out at that point in this world.
Yeah, but she's just been through an extremely traumatic experience. But anyway, like...
So, going forward, Dad finds the kids. They, instead of deciding to
Before that, they fall into the silo.
Oh yeah, the kids fall into a silo. The whole thing. We're not going to go into every single little bit that happens. But the dad finds the kids, and they are trying to get back to the mum, I guess.
Yeah.
And come across another monster, and the dad tries to fight it off. But gets like swiped away. It then tries to go for the kids, and John Krasinski sacrifices himself
by screaming. So the kids are in this car, and the monster's on top of it, thrashing them around, and he screams to
pull
get it away.
And the kids escape, go back to the mum, and then they realise that the girl's hearing aid acts as like an ultrasonic, because the monsters fuck with technology and things.
Yeah.
So it basically just starts making a really high-pitched sound whenever the monsters are nearby, and that hurts them.
The frequency.
The high-frequency noise is causing the monsters a lot of pain. And so they manage to kind of incapacitate one, and then the mum shoots it. And then the final shot of the film is they look at these CCTV monitors, and they can see all the monsters running towards you.
Because of the sound of the gunshot.
Because of the sound of the gunshot. And then it's just Emily Blunt pumping a shotgun, going fucking Rambo style. You ready for this?
But it's perfectly... It's funny.
It's just...
But it's perfectly...
It's so out of place.
Yeah, but it's perfectly setting you up for the second
How?
film. Because it's like...
Do you think the second one will start off with a massive gunfight? No,
well,
it'll start off like...
No, but the trailer is saying, right, we have devised some sort of plan of how... or method of how to fight these things, but we've still got a long way to go. We're now here without the dad... But have you seen the trailer for the second?
Yeah.
So the trailer for the second movie, I would play a clip, but it's kind of pointless without visual aid. It seems as if they've gone back in time to the day the monsters appeared for the first time, and then flash it and kind of shows how it all
So they'll probably flash back and forward a bit.
So that John Krasinski can still be in the movie. I hope the second movie.
Maybe.
What's his name? Cillian Murphy what's his name?
I don't know.
The one in Peaky Blinders.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't. But I realise I've been saying John Krasinski, and I think it's John. I don't actually.
It's Krasinski.
Krasinski, okay. That's the other thing about the film that annoys me a little bit. That they've now, after... This is 472 days after the monsters start appearing. And at no point did anyone think in those 472 days, these monsters that have really sensitive hearing probably don't like high-pitched noises. Right? And that's including, like, the US military. So at no point where they were fighting them off, yeah, guns don't work, but no one was like, yeah, we have those riot control speakers that blast loud sounds at riot people.
But
use one of those.
That's a very good point. I understand your point. But this is a story that is focusing on the experiences of one family. They don't seem to have a way to be connected to the outside world, apart from there's one scene where the dad lights this beacon, and we see other beacons.
He also has a radio, and he's trying to get in contact with other people.
But he can't. So maybe in other parts of the world, they have discovered this, but they can't drive cars or go from place to place unless they're walking there. So there's no way of knowing of how other people have dealt with it.
He's got a lot of newspapers where they seem to have at least some information about them. I feel like that would be something someone would try in the first couple of weeks, right?
Potentially. It's one you can...
Because they know that they have sensitive hearing.
Yeah.
Right, that's in the papers.
Yeah.
They're saying sound is the problem, don't make sound. Sound is whole thing. That's all over the papers that John Krasinski collects. And I get it. It's really weird framing it as we found their weakness when no one else could, when it's something which to me seems
there's no saying that no one else could. It's just that they are finding it in that moment for themselves.
Well, also, yeah, it's John Krasinski being like, what is their weakness? And he's got that on his little board.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't, he's researching the ear to, like, fix his daughter's hearing. I feel like if he'd spent a year thinking about this, you're gonna have thought about it.
But he might have not spent a year. They think of all the things that they've had to do up to that point to kind of get their lives on track. They had to not build a house, but build their living quarters, which seems to be an underground area of a barn. The whole thing's like paper mache. Do you see the kids were like paper macheing it? They've got all these reserves and food and everything. He's set up traps at the. Oh, that was another point. So we didn't discuss this at the halfway point, but the father and the son go to check on their fish traps at this waterfall, and the father the son's quite anxious about being out and potentially making noise, and the father explains that it's okay because of the level of sound coming from the waterfall. And you said, why aren't they just living there then? And that is a good point, because if they can talk and scream and everything.
I love that whole purpose of that scene was to, like, tell the audience small sound good, good, big sound bad.
Yeah, because otherwise
literally signs at one point while staring at the camera.
Because otherwise we probably would be questioning all the little noises that they make that go unnoticed. But I guess that they couldn't really set up camp there, because what if it does rain and it floods and everything's absolutely destroyed?
Guess. But you could stay like.
But it doesn't. We don't really know how far they are from this river waterfall.
I guess not very.
We see them walking.
They seem to have not really moved very far since from where the kid died.
No,
because the daughter can get there.
Go back. But she did walk there, and by the time she was back, it was dark. So it may be a few hours, like, walking distance away. But there are lots of little things like that you can pick holes in. But as a whole,
as a whole, very good film. I think it's the comparison I will draw will be with Bird Box, because that's a film I've seen which is very similar.
I absolutely hated Bird Box, though.
I mean,
I literally can't remember anything that happens in it.
The premise of it was good. There was quite a lot.
But it was totally ripping off.
No.
It was.
Well, first of all, Bird Box was a book that came out way before A Quiet Place.
Well, maybe A Quiet Place ripped off the book, and then the people.
So don't be like it ripped off. It was about first.
The people that made Bird Box were like, oh, maybe this is a popular idea.
No, because they also came out within a couple of weeks of each other, I think. Well, one was straight to Netflix.
Let me check.
I think it came out in 2018. So I don't think it was trying to rip off the success of A Quiet Place, right?
It must have just been a coincidence that they were kind of similar.
But
themes.
But that's more about, like, they don't ever show the monster to you. They have the monster can, like, the monsters or demons or whatever the hell they are can manipulate people and make them go crazy, so that they try and, like, show you the monster, and then once you see the monster, you kill yourself. And there's a whole.
Oh yeah. I'd forgotten all of that.
See, but, like, I really enjoyed Bird Box. I thought it was a really, really good film. But that was more about...
Maybe I was a bit harsh.
That was more about the monsters and the fact that, that just them learning to adapt. Like, the similarities between those films are, it's them learning to adapt to a completely new situation, a new way of living, right? So in A Quiet Place, they can't make any sound, whereas in Bird Box, everywhere they go, they have to blindfold themselves. They can't look outside, otherwise they might see one of these monsters.
Things, yeah. Do you ever see it though? Do you not see something at
Bird
the
Box,
end?
no.
There's not like some mist or something.
No. In the Bird Box, there's like a thing where the demons, like, start talking to them using the voice of people who've died, or the voice of whatever. but you don't know if that's just like the possessing people or anything, because they literally only show you, what's the main character's, the actress?
Sandra Bullock.
Sandy B's face. Whereas in this one, they show you the monsters, but...
And what do you think...
Glimpses.
Sorry to interrupt you, but what do you think of how the monsters look in A Quiet Place? Because when I first saw it, I was like, this is very Demogorgon-ish.
Yeah,
the shape of them is slightly different, but
they have the face,
where the flaps like opening up, and the noises that they make were very similar.
No, that's what it is, 100%. I at some point it made a noise, and I was like, that sounds really familiar. That's the Demogorgon noise. It goes.
Very good example. I don't know if they've openly said that they were influenced by Stranger Things, but I can definitely see that.
It's got they also have like somehow bladed arms.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing, because they said, because I gather why they're not just going. The reason why they're not just going out shooting these things is because of their armor, because they're plated in armor. But when the mum shot it at the end, it was right in its face when its face was like opened up. So I guess if you shoot it in a specific
in the face. But then, I mean, I don't know, because and this is part of what I think makes the movie work quite well, is that they don't tell you anything.
Yeah, it's more about the family. It's a survival story.
But apparently we know the kids' names and the parents' names, because that's on Wikipedia.
Shall we say?
I don't remember a single time.
I said it doesn't matter because it's mum, dad, son, daughter, baby.
Yeah, there's not many characters. So you don't know their names.
Emily Blunt. The mum is called Evelyn. Oh wait, sorry, I'm on the wrong movie. But the mum is called Evelyn.
No, in the second film, she has a name change.
The dad's called Lee. The older sister's called Reagan, the younger brother's called Marcus, and the little boy that died at the beginning is called, I think his name's Bo or something.
Yeah, but they never actually say their names, so I'm not sure. This might just be John Krasinski just being like, these are the names of the characters in an interview or something. And there's very little information that you as the audience are given, which I think is quite cool, because it means that we can have these things where we're like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
You know, because my questions are around, you don't know how many there are, which is part of what John Krasinski's got on his little board, right? He's like, how many are there in the area?
Yeah.
Which is a weird way to phrase that, but yeah, he's like, how many are in the area? Because since they're blind, my thoughts would be that you'd be able to see them about quite a lot, because they'd just be stumbling around. Why would they? Yeah. They wouldn't have the notion of like trying to stay out of sight, right? Because how can you have that instinct of trying to remain hidden?
Yeah, no, that's true. But my thoughts on that are that they're constantly seeking sound. So if there's no sound in that area, why would they be there?
I guess, but yeah. But it's
Debunked.
You know, what are they doing? Well, no, because what are they doing when there is no sound?
But there always will be, because as we mentioned, there's a bit in the film where they're hearing something outside, and then it's these possums or something that jump off the roof. And I said, oh, the animals are kind of screwed, because they can't process the fact we need to be quiet or else we're going to die.
Yeah.
So I guess they would hunt animals as well?
I don't know, because they're not giving you any information. So they might be... We're just thinking of them as some sort of random creature.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, the whole point is we're not being given any information. They could be, you know, military experiment gone wrong, where they are designed to stay out of sight and then hone down on noise and kill anything that makes any noise, but somehow it got released. Or they're alien invasion or whatever the hell it is, just seeking to destroy all life on Earth, and so they're listening for sounds and things.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is we're not given much information.
I like that.
It is good.
It
works really well for this sort of film, right? These kind of like, especially monster movies, I think it almost not ruins it, but when they try and explain it too much or try and get into too much detail,
it provides more plot holes at the end of the day.
Whereas like I have my own kind of things I'm going to poke holes in about this film. But they could quite easily in the second film be like, okay,
this is it.
Yeah. Here you go. I kind of hope they don't. If the ending wasn't so cheesy, I'd have been like, this is a perfect place to just have left this film.
A perfect
and you don't need a second film. Yeah, that's what the second film should have been called.
A Quiet Baby.
A Quiet Baby. Oh yeah, they had that baby when it was delivered.
Yeah.
Made absolutely no sound, and for like the first 30 seconds.
Quickly.
Well, not 30 seconds, but a couple of minutes.
I think that's quite common sometimes. Well, I think it's meant to be healthy for the baby to cry as soon as it's born, but I don't think all babies start screaming and crying immediately after.
Do you know, that's a question for our mums.
But it does start crying.
Yeah, it does. Fairly quickly after. It's just the fact that they're in the mum and the baby are hiding in the shower, and I was just like, this baby's making zero noise. I feel like it would be kicking up a shitstorm.
Well, thank God it didn't.
Yeah.
But we also were discussing, was this a planned pregnancy or was it an accidental pregnancy? Because who in their right mind would
decide to have a baby?
Yeah, but then I went on to say that since they lost their youngest son, they might have, I don't know,
had a hole they wanted to fill.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go ahead and assume that it was accidental. Like, just...
But surely you'd think, well, accidents happen even if you are being careful at the end of the day, but...
I mean, I think if I was in that... You're not going to have, the resources to get an abortion. So your choice would be carry the baby, deliver it, leave it in a dustbin somewhere. Which I would consider heavily.
Shut up.
You'd
leave it in a dustbin.
I'd be like, well, that kid is going to threaten the lives of your other 2 living children. I definitely... I'm not saying I'd do it, but I'd be like, do we need this kid? We've got 2 other ones. Wait, maybe in a few years when we're properly locked down. At the moment, we haven't even figured out that they're weak to loud noises. Well, not loud noises, high-pitched noises.
It's John, it's not about whether they need the child. It's the fact that it's a living being.
Yeah, but it's gonna. But it's this is ethical dilemma, I would say, because that baby, and I 100% guarantee, at some point in A Quiet Place 2, that baby will get them all into trouble.
Isn't there that what do you call this? What's that? The
trolley problem.
Yeah, but the other one where it's like
this is the baby problem.
There's a mother and she has a young child in the part of a village who are being hunted and they're hiding and the baby cries. It's should she smother the child to save the village or should she just let what happens?
Smother the child.
You would smother it.
That's smothered. No,
it's easy to say from an outside perspective.
It's easy to say as a non-parent.
A non-parent, yeah. I'll ask you that again if you ever do have a child. I could not answer that.
No.
Because it goes against and I am not a mother, so I can't really say this, but from what I've gathered from people who are mothers, it would go against every instinct in their body to smother their own child.
No. But, I think the world that they live in is such a difficult place.
Yeah.
First of all, would you want to bring a child into that world?
No, but as we said, it might have been an accident.
No, it is an accident.
So...
But, most likely, I'd say that baby's survival chances are very low to begin with.
Well, what age do you think the child would have to get to for them to be able to sit down and explain, right?
I think... that's the thing, right? Is that they had a 6 or 7 year old kid and it didn't get it. So...
But it's survived. When the movie started on day... Was it 87?
So it was about 3 months.
Yeah, so the kid had managed for 3 months to not get himself into bother. So I think that was just...
Yeah, but if every 3 months you had, a very high chance that you're either that kid's going to get killed, or it's going to cause enough noise that will get the rest of your family killed.
Yeah.
Because they're also now, like, I mean, since the whole baby thing happened, has caused caused the entire events at the end of the film to happen.
Yeah.
They're now without John Krasinski. Would you trade that baby for John Krasinski? Which one would you rather have? I'd rather have John Krasinski.
That's you, though.
No, I feel like the family would rather have John Krasinski. Like, he's a lot more useful than that baby's going to be.
But he made the choice to sacrifice himself.
I mean,
They could, and that was the other thing we were going to talk about.
as soon as that baby was born, they'd just gone, right, throw it out the window.
That was the other thing.
They'd have all been fine.
That was the other thing we were going to talk about, though, because when he screamed and sacrificed himself to save his 2 older children, you said that easily could have been avoided. So what should he... I do agree it was easily avoidable, but what would you have done instead?
So, my thoughts would have been... Well, obviously never going to be put in this situation. But...
You never know.
No, you never know.
Coronavirus is here.
Oh, maybe it'll mutate us all into scary ear monsters. So... since they're blind, you have most of your advantages during the daytime. So if I was the dad, I'd have found the kids and been like, right, we're going to bunker down and hope your mum's doing the same. Assume your mum was doing the same. Because as long as, the monsters aren't about and that baby's in the box, the soundproof box with the oxygen thing in there, baby's not making noise, mum's not making noise, they should be fine.
Yeah. Would
have been my thoughts. And I'd just been like, right, let's find somewhere, hunker down until daylight, go back to the house because we'll be able to see. Yeah, for some reason they decided they need to move immediately. But
it literally just happens
and
straight after they're reunited.
No, it doesn't.
No,
because they start heading back and then they get to the car and then the kids get in the car for some reason.
No, they're hiding. The monster comes and the kids go and hide in the car.
I thought they got in the car before the monster came.
No.
They could tell that there was a monster nearby because all the lights were flashing.
Yeah, so they hid.
So they hid in the car, and the dad goes forward with an axe and is like, "Oh, I'm gonna whack it with an axe when it comes." And then the daughter's earpiece. Every single time the monsters have gotten close to her, the earpiece makes like tons of noise, and the monsters run away.
Yeah.
But when they're in the car and her earpiece is going off, she turns it off, and then the monsters start coming into the car. So
I don't know. I think it was
part of me is like,
I think it was hurting her.
I guess, but
I think at
you
that
could have
point,
taken out of your ear.
At that point, she didn't 100% understand what was going on. Like, she knew that there was some connection between her hearing aid and the monsters, but
yeah,
I don't think she fully understood what was happening.
So I can get the and this is the leading up to John Krasinski dying. I can suspend my disbelief for enough to be like, okay, she's not going to be... It's a panicking situation, won't be realising it, causing a lot of pain, she's turned off her hearing aid, the monster's now attacking her. John Krasinski also, instead of just making a lot of noise, could have thrown something quite far away, made it chase after that.
Or done the
fireworks.
Also,
again, you've been there for a year. I would have set up tons of sound distractions around that farm. Even if I hadn't realised about the ultrasonic thing, right? You knew that sound distracted them, and John Krasinski knows small sound good, big sound bad, unless there's a bigger sound.
Yeah.
Right? So, surely by that logic, you just have he's got some fireworks set up somewhere else, but they do have electricity. He could definitely be setting up some sirens somewhere and have a little switch he needs to push, which could be linked up to the CCTV in the barn.
But do you think the film would have worked without his death? Because we had a death within the first 5 to 10 minutes. Were you shocked by that? I thought you were surprised that he died.
I was surprised by he died.
You thought something was going to happen, but you didn't.
I was pretty I'm pretty sure I only remember there being 2 kids with all the trailers and everything. So, it was a shock that he died immediately, and I do think. I'm not sure how much his death added to the plot. It was because to me, if it had been a proper, the only way out was for him to sacrifice himself, and I'd felt that I'd been like, that's a good way for him to.
Oh, John Krasinski's death. Yeah.
John Krasinski's death just seemed when it happened to me, I was like, this just seemed easily avoidable.
Yeah.
It seemed like just as a kind of plot narrative point, right? And I guess they kind of weren't sure if they were going to make a second one when they made the film, which is why they
But they must have, because
I don't think that ending sets them up for a sequel. That ending is just, I'm gonna go kick some alien butt because we got this. They're all gonna be deaf, and I'll just go around and shoot them all in the head. And
maybe
that's
they didn't know. I think they obviously didn't know how successful it was
they
going to be.
They definitely announced it after the first one came out. And I maybe if they'd known that going in, they'd have been like, okay, let's not have
the cheesy ending,
or not have the dad die. But
but it seems like Cillian Murphy is
just going to replace that character.
Well, from the trailer, it looks like he's kind of replacing the dad's character.
Potentially,
but he seems to be this kind of loner guy that's been dealing with this alone.
Well, I think that from what I remember of the trailers, this film was very much about the family and their relationship with each other. Kind of. This is the problem, is that they don't talk very much.
No.
So
I really want to know if I'm pronouncing his name right.
I don't know.
Well, at the beginning you said, how are we gonna you said something along the lines of, I take it we don't learn very much about these characters if they're not talking.
And you don't.
But there is some depth.
Well, we don't know.
You learn about the depth of the relationship between the father and the daughter, and
I mean, is that depth? That's just she feels guilty. They all feel guilty about the kid dying.
But
right?
she's the one that feels most.
No, the mum does. The mum says at the end, she's like, my hands were free. I should have been holding him.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So they all have some level of guilt about the youngest child dying.
Fassbender, Cillian Murphy, how do you say his name? Cillian. James McAvoy, Aaron McCord.
Okay. Thank you for that.
That's not cleared it up though. They just said it 3 different times.
Cillian Murphy. Let's go with that. So, what was I saying?
About depth. About the mum saying that she felt...
there isn't actually that much depth between the relationship between the family.
But you feel like you know the characters. I don't know everything
but
about...
this is the thing, is where I think the film is very clever, in that because of the lack of information given, because of the lack of dialogue and sound, is that you fill in a lot of the gaps yourself.
Yeah.
So we don't need the dad to be like, oh, back when I was an engineer or whatever I did in the past, because it doesn't matter, right? That's not how people talk. He doesn't need to have the conversation in a world where words are precious. You can't just blurt stuff out. You're not going to just be like, let me ramble on for a little monologue about my backstory, or let us, have a conversation that's really deep and meaningful. And
At the end of the day, it's a survival story. It's not It's not an in-depth character study.
No, exactly. It's very much a
thriller.
Intense thriller. Yeah. And they focus very much on that. I think.
Sorry.
No.
No, I was just going to say, if you were going to give it a rating out of 5.
It would be a 4 or
4.
4, probably
4.5.
Maybe. I don't like
So was it the ending? Was it the
definitely.
Ending that brought it down? The cheesy ending.
Yeah. The ending is what stops it from being
perfection.
Well, it's not perfection, right?
A great movie.
The ending is what stops it from me being like, this is a fantastic movie. And I wouldn't categorically be like, I think this is in every way better than Bird Box. I think a lot of people...
So did you enjoy it more than Bird Box?
I think I enjoyed them about the same amount.
Okay.
I think a lot of people really fucking hate Bird Box. I think that's because it came out just after A Quiet Place came out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate timing.
Right? But it was, I thought it was a really interesting film.
I think when I watched Bird Box, Sorry, we have been going on a bit about Bird Box
It's
over and over
the most
again.
relatable movie, in my opinion.
I think when we watched it, because we watched it together, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I remember watching it with my old flatmate.
I remember enjoying it in the moment. I had a lot of questions and a few issues with it, but I enjoyed watching it in the moment. But I cannot remember anything that happens in it. Whereas when I saw A Quiet Place, maybe it was because I saw A Quiet Place in the cinema and it's kind of more of an experience. Coming out of that and months and years later, I can remember the entire story.
I can probably recite what's going on in Bird Box.
I guess it's just what kind of has an impact.
But it's also like in A Quiet Place, there's probably about 4 or 5 major things that happen, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in Bird Box, there's tons. They have to go out and get. There's the whole panic when the monsters just arrive. There's them finding the house, getting in the house, trying to figure out if they can how they can see the monsters. Then they need to try and figure out how to get supplies. Them getting supplies. There's like literally tons of shit that happens in Bird Box.
I was just thinking, am I going to bleep out all your swearing?
No.
I can.
Why?
I don't know. It depends if we want it to be family friendly.
Absolutely not. Swearing is part of my dialogue.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I can't bleep it out.
Don't bleep it out.
I remember at uni we had to bleep out whore. But we had a massive debate over whether whore was a swear word.
This isn't for uni, so we don't need to censor it. It's fine. But yeah, in Bird Box, there's tons of stuff going on. The story is over a very long period of time, and you jump around that a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas in A Quiet Place, there's 82 days after, and then 472 days after. Those are the 2 times. You don't jump around. There's kid gets killed, and there's mum's having a baby.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 points of time that you're at. Whereas Bird Box is all over the place. Tons of stuff happening.
See, I just can't remember. Maybe we should rewatch Bird Box, and it's probably not going to be very interesting for the podcast because we've already talked about it quite. I think
we've talked about it a lot, and we don't need to go back to it. I'd happily.
I might watch it again just in own time.
Yeah.
But we've gone on a fair bit, so we shall draw things to a close. But for the next podcast, it will be John's.
Me showing you a video game.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas?
I've got a few. There's the problem with this. So we've tried to do this before, and we tried to start with Grim Fandango, which is a masterpiece of a point.
My scythe.
My scythe. I like to keep it next to where my heart used to be.
Yes, which we never actually finished. The problem is I don't want to choose a game which is too long. Will take us a long time
we
to
want to ideally, because there's no excuse to not get a podcast out every week. You're working from home. I don't have a job right now, so I'm just job hunting. So there's no excuse to not get one out every week. But if you were to say, I want you to play.
You can't play.
I want you to play. What is that game that was really popular last year? It was like some. Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Not God of War, the one that's like a western.
Oh, Red Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
if
60
if you said
hours,
I want you to play Red Dead Redemption 2, that wouldn't really work.
No.
So
I mean,
it has
you can maybe get through the first 5 hours.
Yeah, but but when it's just a game that's it's important to understand the whole story to kind of form an opinion, that's not really going to work. It needs to be something that
you can play for about 5 to 10 hours and get it.
5 to 10 hours?
It's over the course of the
week.
We
just watched 90 minutes.
Okay, I'll find. The problem is most games aren't 2 hours long.
No, but say for example, we won't do this because I've already played it, so it wouldn't be authentic reaction. Cooking, what was it called?
Cooking Simulator.
No.
What was it? Fucking. Oh,
Chef.
what's the
What
Ready
is
Steady Cook?
what is it called?
Overcooked.
Overcooked, yeah. if we were to, if say I hadn't played Overcooked and
That
you
would
picked
be
that,
fun.
that
You
would be
could
fine because
do that
we
for a
we
couple
can
hours
play it for an hour or two, and I can form a pretty good opinion. We can go through a series of the levels, so something like that. So
But-
actually, if anyone actually listens to this and has a recommendation,
Yeah.
and most likely you will have played it or heard of it.
Yeah, or not.
Or not.
There's quite a few indie games which I've not touched.
Because at the moment we're kind of doing, I'm recommending a movie that I've seen, you're recommending a game that you've seen, but we could also be open to
Something that
neither of us have tried or seen. So the recommendations are welcome.
They are indeed.
But yeah, thanks for listening. Hope it's not been too boring. And we shall be back next week. And also, happy Easter. Today's Easter. This won't come out until tomorrow.
Well,
Or the
maybe
next.
I'll like-
If I'm really good with the edit, it will come out tomorrow. If not, it will come out Tuesday. But hope you had a nice Easter anyway. And we will be back next week with a game.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Chatty bye.